question I want to ask you is, can you make money in property with none of your own money? These so-called no money down strategies. And I'm going to ask this to my guest because he has made money from property using no money down techniques. And if you think about it, making money from any sort of investment that needs money, it doesn't have to be your own money. And that's what I wrote about in Borrow and Grow Rich, where countries and companies and kings and queens have launched businesses and voyages and built ships using other people's money. So you can use other people's money. But Camden from Sailor Estates, who specializes in rent to serviced accommodation, will give you some of the strategies he's used to make money and build a successful business. So good afternoon, Cam. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Charles. Yeah, thanks for inviting me on the Money Tips podcast. I appreciate it.
Great.
Yeah, no, it's good to be here. I really liked your previous podcast regarding the Renters' Rights Bill. I was very, very informative. So thanks for that.
Thank you very much. And so tell us a bit about yourself. You're originally from South Africa, and you've come over here. So you've come here with probably zero context, and it's a lot of people it's about who you know, and that you've come here and started a business really from coming from another country. So tell us about how you started and got into it.
Yeah, born and raised in South Africa for 19 years. Then I worked on like the private luxury yachts for 6 years. Gained a bit of knowledge of the property and what's out there from one of my superiors on the boat. His name was Patrick. He owns many properties. He runs them as HMOs and normal buy to lets, service accommodation, and all of that. So that's kind of how I got into property.
So he became a bit of a mentor to you in some ways.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like at the time I was actually investing a lot of my money in the stock market,
Okay.
and I was making profits, and I was like, Pat, like, look at this, so happy. And he's like, Cam, just be careful. It's gambling at the end of the day. You can't control what happens to these companies, but you can control at like property, much better, because you can figure out your return on investment and stuff. It's quite stable. So after losing quite a lot of money in the stock market after the COVID crash,
Oh, I see.
then I thought, actually, I'm not investing in the stock market anymore. I'm going to invest in something a lot more stable. And that's how I got started in property.
So that was 2020.
Yeah, that was around about 22. I think I bought my first property in 2021. That was a 3-bedroom terraced house in Wallasey. That's in Wirral. That's like 15-minute drive from Liverpool Centre.
Yeah. Wow.
But I bought that very blindly after watching a few YouTube videos, as some people do. Bought it. It needed a lot of work, thinking it's going to be like an all money out BRR deal, but not having that education and the training to work out the numbers and to crunch it and to see if it would be a good deal, which it actually was not. It wasn't a good deal at all. But I learned a lot from that
Just
deal.
explain to people BRR. What is BRR?
Yeah, so it literally just stands for buy, refurb, refinance, and rent. But so you buy a property, either cash, you get a discount, so you just buy it below market value. You need to fix all the problems. You need to, make it look nice again. For the refurb, that's the buy, refurb, and that forces the value up quite significantly if you do it in the correct way. And then you refinance it. If you do it correctly, you can pull out all of your initial investments. So you literally have a free property, and sometimes you can get profit on top. And then you either rent it. Right now, with interest rates going up, you kind of want to be doing it to a HMO exit strategy, or a service accommodation, or even like emergency accommodation or social housing.
Okay, great. So that was your first deal, which didn't go quite to plan. So it didn't put you off. You've stayed in the business. What happened then?
Yeah, so after that, I realized I actually need to get training, because you're dealing with a lot of money and you can lose a lot of money. So I started, I got training from Samuel Leeds.
Okay.
I went to one of his courses. I started getting like a lot of just reaching out to people that are doing a lot better than I was in property and that had a lot more experience. And then I thought, actually, let me start looking into rent to service accommodation and rent to rent, because you don't need that much capital to start, because you're not buying a house, you're just renting it for a long term through your company, and then you're renting it out legally at a much higher rate. So I just thought, let me try utilize that strategy,
So
and that's how I got started.
you find a property from a landlord, and then you rent that presumably on some sort of lease or long-term basis, and then you rent it out for a profit, obviously with the landlord's permission and everything. So you're doing it all above board, and that brings you cash flow. So these are commonly called rent to rents kind of deals. So you've tried that, and that strategy has worked for you, has it?
Yeah, yeah. So I went through like a full training program because I don't advise people just diving in it, not knowing what they're doing. There's a lot that goes behind the scenes, systemizing it, being legally compliant, having the right insurances, being in the PRS, having the correct contracts drawn up. And yeah, you need like a proper rent to rent, in other terms, a company let agree tenancy agreement to make it legal.
Okay.
You've got to make sure there's no restrictions in the head lease if it's a leasehold property that restrict short-term stays or service accommodation. So like these are all things that you have to learn about. But yeah, it took me, after doing that course, I thought it was going to be a breeze. It actually took me about 6 months of a lot of hard work and countless phone calls to find a landlord and to find a property which the numbers stacked up on. And that's done in Brighton. I took that on in November last year. And yeah, no, it's been really good. Like that's generating just over £1,000 a month in pretty passive income from that one deal. So
That's
it's
amazing.
it's 12,000 profit in the first year.
Well, that's amazing. So, and that's using somebody else's property. You're not putting much down into the deal. I don't know if you had to do any refurb work on it, but you're not putting much. It's not like buying that property. You're making £1,000 a month. You say it's passive. I mean, how's it be passive when you are dealing with serviced accommodation and tenants? How did you systemize that so it is passive and you're not taking the calls in the middle of the night and that sort of.
Exactly. So everything is systemized. So as soon as the guests book, they get an instant like welcome, thank you for booking message. I do reach out to them and say, hey, can you please send us your ID documents, full name of the guests? Like we do charge deposit as well. So these are just extra security measures to make sure that the property is kept, in good condition, and your reputations all well and good. And then after they send you that, automatic check-in messages. It's all self check-in. There's smart lock boxes. There's camera doorbells, so we can see if there's any unwanted guests in the property. There's like noise monitoring devices, which monitor the level of noise that we
Oh,
install to make sure no one's playing parties. But yeah, they come in, stay for 2 nights or 6, 7 months. That's our longest term stay that we've had. And yeah, if they have any problems, which no one really does, because we do take care of the property and we make sure it's all good. Um, yeah, it is really as bad. And then as soon as they check out, the cleaners get notified. They come in straight away. They clean. They change the linen. They get out, and just repeats and repeats and repeats.
fantastic.
So
So you don't go down to Brighton and check people in and out and wash
no, no.
laundry and change beds and that. So you don't do
So
that.
it's only happened once. My business partner Gina, our cleaner was actually ill that day.
Okay.
She had COVID and she wasn't feeling up to it, so she let us know. And then my partner had to go down after work. But these things happen in any business. If you're in charge, you got to make sure that it works out. Um,
Fantastic. So have you continued to add more rent to rent deals or rent to serviced accommodation deals since then?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we've taken on one in Worthing, which is 30 minutes
Yeah.
from Brighton. That's in West Sussex. That's a beautiful two-bedroom house from an amazing landlord. I'm not going to lie, like there's so much benefit, not just to us as the company and the guests staying there getting high quality accommodation, but to the landlords. Like in most of the agreements, we sign a 3-year contract.
Okay.
So they're not getting any void periods for 3 years. We take care of the property like immaculately. We have cleaners, maintenance people in there constantly, keeping the upkeep. We even contribute towards any maintenance issues. Like if the boiler breaks, we can contribute £150 towards that month. So there are a lot of benefits. So once you find a landlord that actually understands and that will benefit from it because it's very hands off for them, long term contract, you build a good relationship and they end up giving you more properties. So the first landlord that gave us the one in Brighton, he wanted to give us two more in South London.
Okay.
But unfortunately, the numbers didn't stack up for us. We weren't too confident to take it on. So we had to walk away because I think the rent he was getting already was substantially high. But anyway, so yeah, we moved to Brighton. We got one from a landlord. As soon as we gave it a slight refurb, we painted the walls, we decorated it because it did need a bit of love. We furnished it, and as soon as that was done, she was like, "Okay, wow, here's another one." So we got two more going right now, and they're all bringing in about £1,000 a month profit.
That's an amazing story. I guess once people
Mm.
learn that you are for real and you know what you're doing, that they trust you, then they're prepared to say, "Well, here's another one," which is good. And I guess a lot of landlords are feeling a bit tired at the moment. I've been to landlords meetings where all the landlords look, they look like worn out and tired. And then rather than sell the properties and to get out of rental and then pay all this taxes, why not give it to someone who can just take it over for them? But it's always finding that right match for the two of you, and it's got to stack up. But that seems to make sense. And then of course we've got the renters rights bill coming in, and that's scaring landlords. So this might be an answer to their prayers in some ways.
I really believe so. I think obviously with the new rules and the laws and regulations coming in, giving the normal tenants like a lot of rights, and taking less authority away from the
Yeah.
landlords. With rent to rent or company led agreements, the company has no tenant rights because it's not an AST contract. So if we are in any breach of contract, if we don't pay the rent, for 2 weeks, if we neglect or damage the property, it's very basic and clear in the contract that they can initiate the break clause, terminate the contract, and there's no going to court. There's no legal implications. We have to give them the keys back, and again, we are also completely liable for any damages or any maintenance. At the end of the contract. So it is a game changer. I think I was actually happy about the renters' rights bill because, yeah, I think landlords are much more open to this, and if you can solve their problems and if you can win and make some money at the same time, we always look for a win-win situation. So it's kind of a blessing in disguise for us.
Yeah, I think it's got to be win-win for both. But
Mm.
I think some landlords might be, and so you're actually sort of rubbing your hands together when this bill comes out. And are you actually getting more inquiries then? Are you actually getting people saying, "Well,
So I haven't started. Like I'm going to start promoting and like pushing Google ads and ads and stuff. But it's right now it's just finding leads online, spare room,
yeah,
open rent, Gumtree, and just calling up landlords and just telling them what you do. Being very honest and open, finding out if
yeah."
if they're struggling and just coming up with a solution.
Yeah, and to those of you who might say, "Oh, this is some newfangled scheme," this kind of scheme has been going on for a long, long time. I mean, a lot of hotels are effectively rent to rent. There's a hotel
Yeah,
in a
Premier
minute.
Inn. Yeah.
Yeah, and people who own it don't manage it. They've given it to a company. It's quite a big hotel. They've given it to a company, and they manage it for them. A lot of hotels are big chains are run like this on a so-called rent to rent basis. There's nothing new about this, and it's a proper agreement. Would you
Mm.
say it's true?
Yeah, no, I think it's true. It's been going on for quite a while. Even yeah, like as I said, Premier Inn,
I mean,
they don't own most of their hotels. They're on a commercial lease agreement.
I see.
I think some of them have an option to buy at the end, which is actually that's got a lease option agreement, which we can touch base on later. I'm going to be getting into that more. Like I've been trying to find leads and stuff because that's like a golden type of deal.
Yeah,
Because you do you
tell me more
do.
about that. Yeah.
Mm, so lease option agreement, you find a landlord. So it doesn't work with every landlord. Again, you need to find a solution to their problem. So it works really well with properties that are in negative equity. If they bought it for 100,000 on like a 95% mortgage back in the day when those are going, and the market crashed. Now maybe the property is worth 80,000. They have to sell it for 95,000 just to pay off the mortgage. So you find properties that are negative equity or just tired landlords or people that don't need the money now and are renting and it's on for sale. You kind of find these people and you say, hey, why don't I give you the full amount you're asking for right now that you're struggling to sell it for because it's been on the market for a long time. Maybe it's not worth that much. And you say, I will rent it from you on a rent to rent agreement for 5 to 7 years. We'll take over the mortgage payments and everything. And at the end of that 5 years or that whatever term you agree, you've got the option to purchase that at the price you agreed on, which is usually the current market value at the start of the agreement. So that's how we as investors utilize that, is saving up the profit that we earn every single month. And for the 5 years, at the end of that, we use that profit to pay off the deposit of the property. And hopefully by then it does increase in value as property does in the UK. You can always negotiate giving a percentage of the uplift to
Okay.
the landlord, so it's not like they're not losing out. But for a deal like this to happen, they have to be going through a solicitor. A solicitor has to represent them independently, and we have to get a solicitor who represents us. So if there's anything unfair in the agreement, the solicitor will say, hey, you need to change the terms, you need to up the price to the buyer. So it's very fair. It's all done legally. But to make a deal properly, legitimate, you have to do that, and you have to exchange contracts for at least £1 to make. There has to be some sort of exchange, like a monetary value, to make the contracts legal at the start.
Okay. And are you finding that there are properties? I mean, the news yesterday, one lender said, "Oh, prices have gone up again, and they've reached a record high." But are there parts of the country where values has slipped and people are in negative equity? Because I haven't heard that expression for a long time.
Yeah, no, like even around here, even in the southeast, there's properties. I wouldn't say negative equity, but like just before COVID, I think prices spiked
Yeah.
a little bit, and people like, flip, I need a place to live, this and that. Like everything's going to do a crunch, and people may be buying with their emotions, as people do in like a small bull run. So they're buying, what they think it's worth, but actually it's not worth that much. So I'm in the process. I think I've sent out 75 negative equity letters just in the whole of the southeast. Um, just negative equity letters that I'm going to be trying to secure on a lease option agreement. So there definitely are negative equity properties, especially up north. If you're looking at Hull and areas that haven't really recovered from
Yeah.
the 2008 economical crash. So it definitely is. But again, it's not just for properties in negative equity. It's just a tired landlord, who doesn't really care. He's not bothered. He just wants the property gone. Maybe he doesn't need the money right now. But yeah, I'm definitely going to focus more on that, because you can get a free property in that way, in a sense. Or you can even sell that deal on to another investor who can pay you a healthy amount. And yeah, again, like you solving the landlord's problems, you really are helping them out.
Yeah.
If they're willing to do this, they are in pain, they're struggling to sell the house, they physically can't sell it for what they need to sell it at. Or if they don't have the money to refurb a property, because you have to refurb it to get tenants in there, then that's all. Then they're stuck. So instead of selling it, you take it off their hands for as many years as you agree, and then you agree to purchase it down the line.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Mm.
I guess you have to do your marketing to find these people, but yeah, and that's another strategy where you don't need very much of your own money, maybe for legal fees and maybe some refurb costs, but it's not like you're having to find, 30% deposit or something, and you can acquire properties over time with none of your own money. So there are no money down strategies, or virtually no
Mm.
money down strategies. And
Exactly.
do you have any other
Yeah.
strategies you've used, or anything
Yeah,
else?
yeah. So actually my property up in Wallasey. So I did like a full refurb on that. I refinanced it as well. I put out a little bit of equity, not as much as I planned on, of course, because the numbers didn't stack. And then right before I was about to furnish it, I was actually going to turn it into an HMO. It turns out the next door neighbor had Japanese knotweed growing up the back, and it like made its way into the external insulation on my property and was causing returning damp. And then the roof got damaged in a storm, and some slates flew off the roof and hit a car next door. So I thought, I was like, whoa, okay, I need to do a second full refurb. I need to take the plant down. The council actually came to remove it properly. Um, and yeah, I calculated like the refurb, the roof, and fully furnishing that property was around about £13,000. So I organized the contractors. I got everyone there. I was project managing that myself, and we started the works. And then I thought to myself, I actually went to another training seminar, which was that is actually a deal finding, deal selling, and kind of raising finance. Uh, course, which was very eye-opening. And I thought to myself, I said, hey, like I do know quite high net worth individuals because I was working in that industry, like on private luxury yachts, there's
Oh,
celebrities,
yeah.
there's football stars. So I thought, let me just make an Instagram post to try to raise some finance. And literally, I made a post saying, "Hey, I'm looking to raise £13,000 in finance. I'm giving I'll be open. I was giving a 15% return on investment over a 12-month period." Within a week, I had an old colleague of mine, just give me the 13K, which I then used for that refurb, and that allowed me to use my money elsewhere, and just keep on growing that portfolio at a much faster rate. So if you don't have money, you can always raise finance. You got family members, you got friends,
Yeah.
you got invest. There's so many people with money out here. There's
Yeah.
infinite amount of money in the universe, and
Yeah.
doctors, surgeons, accountants, people that don't have the time, they'd much rather get a 15% return on investment rather than 5-6% from a normal bank. So
And gives,
again, you're finding a win-win.
and then you'll give security of some sort on the property, a charge
Yeah,
or
yeah, like a first charge on a property or
okay.
another, another asset of yours. But yeah, it's all done legitimately through contracts, and so everything is secure.
Great. So you don't always need a bank or a mortgage. You literally raise that money yourself on Instagram. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, within a
places on
week.
Instagram. It's amazing within a week. And that again is about using other people's money. There's
I'm gonna read that book actually. I'm
great.
interested in that.
Right. I mean,
Love
there's
that chat.
infinite amounts of money around, as you said,
Yeah.
in this universe. But even if you look at the banks, they're stuffed full of money in this country and in America, and there are a lot of people out there looking for deals. There's more people looking for good deals to invest in than there are investment, and sometimes they're just not aware of these things. And 15% is three times the amount you could get on a high interest account, and so it's a pretty good deal, and it's secured. So yeah, you've done really well. So you've now got a third kind of strategy which you've used is raising other people's money to finance deals for you. So that's fantastic, Camden.
Mm,
Well
yeah,
done.
thank you. I think another thing to add, like in this industry, in the property industry, I think helping others and just helping others and spending time with people that are struggling, just to give them a different perspective, helps so much. And I've kind of raised money in finance indirectly just by helping people. Like I was helping one of the academy members from the course we've done find her first and negotiate her first rent to service accommodation. And I helped her a lot in that, a lot of phone calls, a lot of late night number crunching. And the other day I met her, I met her 2 weeks ago at like a little networking event, and she was like, "Cam, thank you so much for helping me." She's like, "By the way, I've got some international investors who've got
Wow.
150,000 and like they want to go into like JV with us, or like, if you can find them a deal, we'll buy, a good deal of you." So I think helping people, like is an infinite return on your investment as well, because it takes no money to help people, but
Yeah.
you can get a lot of positive from that, and joint venture partners or just deals down the line.
Yeah, it's amazing that I was saying what goes around comes around, how you give and you get back multiple benefits from giving without expecting a return yourself. So that's good. And we met at a networking event, and it's amazing who you can meet there. You wouldn't believe some of the people you meet there that either have got some great ideas or give you some good tips or maybe have money. And I went to another, not the one we met at, another one where I met a guy that has a platform that represents billionaires, and he's not dealing with them directly, but he's got a platform, and he doesn't own this company. He works for the company, and they have summits and seminars all around the world during the year in Dubai and London and Zurich, and these billionaires are looking for places to invest their money. Because when you've got $1 billion, you can't just keep it in the bank. It's not even safe in the bank. So they're always looking for ways to
Assets, you want
invest
to
their
buy
money.
assets, yeah.
They're called family offices usually, and it's like a full-time job managing all this money. Poor things, they've got all these problems to deal with. But it is amazing how much money there is out there. It's incredible. So well done. Do you have any other strategy you'd like to sort of share with us, or anything else you're working on? Or
Yeah, so there's again, like, so the rent to rent, there's a lot of variations of a rent to rent. You got rent to HMO. If you can find a 2 bedroom, this is like the ideal kind of small rent to HMO to start. If you can find like a 2 bedroom, two reception room house, like this terrace house or detached house, and you get it on a rent to HMO agreement, and how do you turn like a reception room into a bedroom? You just add a bed into the reception room. So if of course you got to like make sure there's no Article 4 in the area. You got to like make sure that you're doing it all correctly and there's no restrictions. But usually with a 4 bed, if in a non-Article 4 area, you don't need any planning permission or anything like that. So you're turning, a 2 bed into a 4 bed property, and you're renting it out room by room to students or professionals.
Okay.
So that is good because you're turning a 2 bed into a 4 bed, and you're just creating super rent. So it's not as liquid, and like there's not crazy profits in that as there are in service accommodation, but it is a lot more stable. So someone that is just wanting for like a stable, they're looking at 400-600 pounds a month profit. There's definitely those kind of deals out there. And then as well, social housing, and probably right now, like the most crazy that's going on right now is, I'm sure you've heard, like supported living.
Yeah.
So if you have a supported living company and you got, I think it's CQC registered,
Yeah.
and you can provide accommodation for people with learning disabilities, or people with, physical disabilities, or people with mental health illnesses, and you can provide a care worker at the same time, the government is paying, I think it's on average about £900 per week per room. So if you do the math, you got a 4 bedroom house, and also you can do this in an Article 4 area. So if you have rented to social housing or supported living or emergency accommodation, you don't have to follow the Article 4 rules. You don't have to get planning permission for this, because they're exempt, because it's government backed, and the government needs housing for these people that are quite desperate. So yeah, like the money side, I do want to get into that down the line, but it's like a lot of studying. I think it's a 4 to 6 month, training to get properly certified. It's a big commitment, but the money you can make. I know a guy, Damien Cheeseman and Scott, that are, I think they're making on average £12,000 profit for one property that I think they bought for £135,000. So
yeah, but I just think to do that, you do need to be registered. Maybe if you can't register, manage it yourself, you can hire a manager. But this involves staff. It's like it's a proper business.
Yes, yeah, it is, as you
So
said.
you've got to, don't jump into it straight away. But you can also rent your property, I guess, to supported housing providers who they're looking for properties as well. So they provide the services, but they take on your house. So
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
not just about buy to let, is it? That's what I'm trying to get over to people. It's not just about, oh, buy to let's the only strategy. There's so many strategies.
Yeah,
So
I'm also focusing now that I've got a lot more experience than the average Joe, and I've gone through lots of training. I'm meeting a lot of people. I've got 3 rent service accommodations. My personal one in Wallasey, I've turned to a service accommodation as well. That's a personal one of mine. We're negotiating. I was actually out with my partner today negotiating like a fully furnished 4 bedroom place on the outskirts of Brighton that we're going to be hopefully securing this month.
fantastic.
But I'm going to be, I'm starting to deal source, rent to rents for investors that have the knowledge, but they don't have the knowledge to actually find a deal themselves, but they can run it themselves.
Okay.
So
Deal
yeah,
sourcing and deal packaging is another strategy.
yeah, as well as BRRs for like investors that are overseas and local. I got quite a few that are waiting for deals. So I'm also reaching out to co-deal sources, because you can only go to so many viewings a day, and maybe about 5 of those viewings, maybe one would be okay, and then if it falls through, you always need a backup. So yeah, deal packaging and selling. On average, you're getting £3,000 per deal. So that's quite a fast way to generate some cash, which you can then put into rent to rents to get passive income, and then you can move up to the BRR and owning your own assets. So
So
that's
just to
kind of like the
run that by again. So if I say to you, and I'm actually going to see a property on
mm,
Friday, which comes from a deal sourcer, I think he's charging more than you do. But if I said to you, right, Camden, find me a deal, property or whatever, and it's got to be a good deal. It's not just something you picked up off Rightmove and so, oh, here's a property. I would then, if you found something for me, I would then pay you £3,000. So you've earned £3,000 for sourcing the deal and passing it on to one of your many investors who they've got the money. They're perhaps cash rich but time poor, and they need people like you to find deals for them. Yeah.
yeah, exactly that. So not even time poor, but someone that maybe doesn't have all of the knowledge, because it is a full-time job keeping up with the regulations. If someone says find me like a buy refurb refinance to HMO, you got to know, you got to look in non-Article 4 areas. You got to know the limits. Some councils, you can only have a 3-bed HMO before you need planning permission. But so it all changes. But yeah, if someone comes up to me, so you can do bespoke deal sourcing, which is kind of the best. So you can take the fee up front. You get all the contracts and stuff signed up. You say, if I can't find you a deal in six weeks, I'll fully refund you the money. But that's more specific. So you can say, I'm looking for a deal in Leeds or Leicester. It's got to be, I've got £200,000 to spend. I want it to be a 4-bedroom property. So then you've got a shopping list for yourself, and then I'll go, or I'll get someone out there who I know has got the knowledge to find these properties as well. We go over the numbers, make sure, like, negotiate the price down. Like, we do everything for the investor, so it's as hands off as possible. We can even get, if needed, like a building team in place. I've personally got like solicitors and mortgage brokers that I can recommend that understand these different strategies as well. And yeah, that's it. So as soon as I find a deal, I pass it on. You pay, or I've already got the fee, or you pay me the fee, and you've just got an amazing deal, potentially all money out, or like a 20% return on investment deal. And you're owning the asset. And of course, with depreciation, you're winning twice. Well, 3 times with the rent, really.
Yeah, it sounds great. I mean, you sounds like you're the sort of person that does things properly and make sure you dot the I's and cross the T's. So I know someone who was trying to get into deal sourcing, and she was trying to find a property for this guy, funny enough, to do with supported living. And she spent a lot of time running around for him. And in the end, it sort of come to nothing. But she didn't have a contract with him. She was going on trust and people's words, and people don't always keep their words. So, and I think also, if you find a property that you can not only say, well, here's a property, but you're putting that whole package together, you're getting it refurbished for them, or you're finding a way of them renting it out, maybe through your own company on serviced accommodation, then it's a whole package deal. It's not just, here's a property that any estate agent can rent. So I've got a property for you. But if it's in another part of the country and you live in London and it's in Wallasey, you want someone who can perhaps help you through that process. So I think you're providing a very good service there.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's definitely good. And I think from learning from my mistake and my, just diving into my first property, like, it's really affected me, because I think I do extra due diligence. I really do put in more effort than most, because I know how easy it is to lose money in a deal. So, I'd rather learn on a it's like an 87,000 property of my own than like a £1 million property for an investor. So everything happens for a reason. But yeah, I'm excited to see what's to come.
And this is now a full-time job for you now, full-time living.
This is full-time. Yeah, I'm full-time in property. Yeah, I think this month, yeah, we made £4,000 from the service accommodation business. But again, so I'm just reinvesting that right now into the next project, which we're getting this month, and just going to keep on building and building. So I'm looking forward to owning many properties, and also, like, I'm an aspiring land developer. So I'm looking forward to learning more about that as well.
I think that's sensible that you're reinvesting the money, not just going out and buying a Ferrari or a Lamborghini.
I do need a new car, to be honest. It's leaking from the roof. No, I've never been a big spender, to be honest. I've always been quite, frugal, and I've saved quite a lot my whole life.
So one day you might be a yacht owner in the Med somewhere.
Yeah. I've got the licenses. I can almost skipper a boat, depending on the size. So that would be great.
Fantastic. Well, I think unless you want to add anything more, I think I'll probably let you go. You've probably got another deal to do tonight. But
yeah, I'm negotiating 2 deals right now. I've literally got the numbers right here, so I'm going to be going through them. No, that's been amazing, Charles. Thank you so much.
Great talking to you.
It was nice to meet you the other day in person.
Yeah, it's been great talking to you. And I think what I want to stress to people is that property as an investment is good. I mean, people will always need somewhere to live, and the growing population has brought out this need for smaller units like studios, serviced accommodation, HMOs, houses in multiple occupation. And, we know the population is growing. People are living longer, more divorces, higher immigration as well. That's all contributing to the fact that people will need property. And we know that there's not enough properties being built. The government said they're going to build 1.5 million in 5 years. That was the same target as the last government, and they didn't achieve it. And they don't build it themselves. They're relying on builders to do it. So if the builders feel the market's right, they'll build. So there's always going to be a need for property, and it's something that I think, I've always made money from property, even the bad ones I bought, like your one in Wallasey. You still, if you hang on to it and don't give up, you can still make money from a property. So just want to say to people, you don't have to use your own money. There are no money deals out there. And if you want to get in touch with Camden, I'll put his details at Sailor Estates.
Yeah, Sailor Estates on Instagram.
Okay.
Straightforward. Yeah, more than happy to have a call and just see where you're at, and your personal circumstances, and if I can help in any other way, or if I can't help, I can always maybe recommend someone who can help. So always here. But thank you so much, Charles. You're a legend.
Thanks for coming on. You've been a great guest, and
appreciate
I wish
it.
you luck in your business, and I hope this ship will continue sailing into the sunset and do well for you. So great. Thanks a lot. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Charles.
I hope you've inspired me, and I hope you've inspired a lot of other people. So thanks a lot.
Of course. Thank you. God bless. Thank you so much.